It's kind of staggering. Almost, what, 3 out of 4 people in America say they feel stressed out about their finances?
Yeah, that American Psychological Association survey, it's a huge number. It really makes you think about how much money stress impacts, well, just daily life.
Totally. And welcome, everyone, to Book Talk Finance,
Glad to be diving in.
because that stress is exactly what we're exploring today through a really interesting book, The Index Card: Why Personal Finance Doesn't Have to Be Complicated. It's by Pollack and Helaine Olen.
Right, and the origin story is pretty unique. It kind of started with Harold Pollack, just almost casually, suggesting online that all the core financial advice you really need could fit on a single index card.
Yeah, after Helaine Olen's book Pound Foolish came out, he just threw it out there.
And the idea just sort of
Yeah.
exploded.
It really did. People were fascinated. So he actually, made his own index card, right?
With-
Jotted down the rules he and his wife follow.
Exactly. Took a picture, shared it, and it just went viral.
You had Boing Boing saying, your new financial advisor is Harold Pollack's index card. I mean,
And not just blogs. Marketplace, Forbes, HuffPost, Reddit, Lifehacker. They all picked it up.
even Sendhil Mullainathan, the MacArthur fellow, tweeted about it. Justin Wolfers, too.
It clearly resonated. Even big players like Vanguard mentioned it in their blog, put it in a New Year's message.
And Money Magazine called it one of the best new money ideas of 2013. The Minneapolis Star-Tribune even said the original card was the most notable personal finance writing that year.
Which is amazing for something so simple on the surface.
Right.
And Helaine Olen saw it too, like a breath of fresh air compared to all the complicated advice out there. They realized the key wasn't some secret Wall Street trick.
No, it was about understanding and, importantly, doing a few basic things consistently.
Exactly. So while the card was the spark, the book really digs into those core ideas.
Which is what we're going to do in this book talk today. We'll unpack those main principles and try to understand why this simpler approach can actually work so well.
Yeah, the whole argument is basically finance seems complex, maybe deliberately sometimes, but the fundamentals, they're actually pretty straightforward.
Okay, let's get right to it then. The index card itself. What are those core principles?
There are 3 main ones they hammer home. First, save 10 to 20% of your money, or, as much as you can manage.
10 to 20%, okay.
Second, pay your credit card balance in full every single month.
Crucial.
And the third,
Invest in low-cost index funds.
right, save, pay off cards, invest simply. Seems, well, simple.
Deceptively simple, maybe, but incredibly powerful if you actually follow them. Saving is step 1, gives you options, lets you invest, keeps you out of debt trouble. Paying off the cards avoids that high-interest trap. And index funds? Well, they're a straightforward way to grow wealth long-term without needing a finance degree.
Okay, but it does sound almost too easy, which begs the question. If it fits on a card, why write a whole book about it?
That's a really important point they tackle head-on. Knowing the rules is one thing.
But truly understanding why they work, how they fit together, and how to overcome the obstacles to actually doing them, that takes more than a few bullet points. That understanding builds the confidence to stick with it.
They use that analogy of like a golf swing, don't they?
Yeah, exactly. The basics, stance, grip, swing, seem simple, but mastering them, that takes practice. Understanding the mechanics, maybe unlearning bad habits.
So the book provides the why and the how, not just the what. Gives you the context.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Simplicity often needs that deeper foundation. The book gives the reasoning and the strategies to make those simple rules actually happen in real life.
And one of the biggest hurdles, which the book really digs into, is just the cost of living these days, plus all the pressure to, consume.
Definitely. It often feels like salaries haven't really kept up, especially with essentials like healthcare, housing, education. Those costs have just ballooned for a lot of people.
That puts a real squeeze on finances, doesn't it?
For sure. It creates this underlying financial strain even before you get to discretionary spending.
And then you add in all the marketing, the social media pressure, equating happiness with buying stuff.
Oh, absolutely. The book uses that great example of the Bugaboo stroller.
Right. Like
Yeah.
late 90s, a $400 stroller was totally fine. A few years later, suddenly the $1,000 Bugaboo is presented as almost a necessity.
It perfectly illustrates how marketing and social trends can just shift our perception of what's normal or even needed.
It's wild how quickly that happens.
And it's not just a feeling. They talk about this economic idea called consumption contagion.
Okay, consumption contagion. What does that mean for us practically?
It's based on research by economists Marianne Bertrand and Adair Morse.
Yeah.
Basically, it suggests that when wealthier people spend more on visible goods and experiences,
Hmm.
it puts pressure on everyone else down the income ladder to sort of keep up.
Yeah.
It subtly raises the bar for what feels like a normal lifestyle.
So even if our own income isn't rising much, we feel pulled to spend more, maybe saving less as a result.
That's the potential effect, yeah. It's like this invisible pressure to match a standard that keeps creeping upwards.
Wow. Okay, so against that backdrop, rising cost, this consumption pressure, the book hammers home the importance of saving.
Absolutely. They state it plainly. You can't invest effectively, you can't get out of debt sustainably unless you save first. Saving is the engine.
And that 10 to 20% goal they mention,
Yeah.
that's from gross income, right? Before taxes.
Yes, gross income, which they acknowledge is a big ask for many people.
Yeah, that can feel impossible if you're just starting out or struggling.
Totally. And they're realistic about that. They say, look, if 10 or 20% isn't doable right now, the key is to save something. Whatever you can consistently. Start small, build the habit, and try to increase it over time.
Don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good, basically.
Exactly. Small, steady progress adds up.
Okay, so to actually save, you need to know where your money is going. The book talks about figuring out needs, luxuries, and what do they call it? Excess.
Yeah, making that distinction. Needs are the essentials, roof over your head, food, utilities. Luxuries are things that make life nicer but aren't vital. Excess is. Well, maybe spending that doesn't really add much value or align with your goals.
And understanding that helps you make conscious trade-offs.
Precisely. The book gives examples like maybe skip the daily fancy coffee and put that money towards a vacation fund.
Or
Mhm.
cut a landline you never used to free up cash for, say, gym membership or saving more for college.
Right. It's about making deliberate choices, aligning your spending with what you actually value instead of just spending reactively.
Shifting from just consuming to intentionally allocating your money.
That's a good way to put it.
So how do we do that? The book suggests a realistic spending and savings plan, but they kind of avoid the word budget. Why is that?
They feel budget sounds too rigid, too restrictive. Life isn't always predictable, right?
Well, not.
So they prefer the idea of surfing a financial wave. You know, some waves are coming: rent, mortgage, car payment. Those are predictable.
Hmm.
But other spending fluctuates. So it's less about sticking to rigid categories and more about knowing your big, regular costs, monitoring the rest, and adjusting as you go, riding the wave.
So be aware, be flexible, adapt as needed. Less spreadsheet, more mindful surfing.
Kind of. It's about awareness and adaptability, not feeling boxed in by rules that might not fit your reality next month.
And a huge part of being prepared for those unpredictable waves is having an emergency fund.
Oh, absolutely essential. The book is very firm on this. You need readily accessible savings.
How much do they recommend?
3 months worth of your non-negotiable living expenses.
Okay, so not necessarily 3 months of total income, but the must-pays. Rent, food, utilities, basic transport.
Exactly. Enough to cover the absolute essentials if your income suddenly stops, like from a job loss or a medical issue. It's a critical safety net, provides huge peace of mind.
Now, there was one point about saving that I found really interesting, the whole non-latte factor discussion.
Ah, yes. The idea that focusing only on cutting small daily expenses might miss the bigger picture.
Right. Like, we obsess over a $5 coffee, but ignore huge fixed costs.
Exactly. It's easy to feel virtuous cutting out small treats, but sometimes the real financial drain comes from much larger, less flexible expenses.
Helaine shares that story, right? About cutting her $40 newspaper subscription,
Mm-hmm.
only to get hit with a $100 a month increase in her health insurance premium soon after.
It's a perfect illustration. That $100 insurance hike dwarfs the newspaper savings. It shows that while small savings help, the big levers are often things like housing, transportation, healthcare, insurance costs.
So be mindful of the small stuff, sure, but don't only focus there. Look at the big rocks first.
That seems to be the message. Control the small things maybe to create breathing room, but understand where the really significant money is going.
Okay, so we need to save, understand spending, have an emergency fund. What practical tips does the book give for actually making saving happen consistently?
Automation is key. Set up automatic transfers from your checking account to your savings account right after payday.
Pay yourself first, basically.
Exactly. It takes the willpower out of it. The money moves before you even have a chance to spend it.
They also suggest that interesting idea for variable income folks. Treat savings as your main account and pay yourself a salary from it.
Yeah, kind of flipping the script. It's a psychological trick that might work for some.
And using sub-accounts,
Yeah.
like naming them.
Right.
Yeah.
Having separate little pots of money labeled vacation fund or new car fund or emergency savings, it makes the goals feel more real, more tangible, helps with motivation.
Okay, now this was a point that really made me pause. The book advises not necessarily building up that full 3-month emergency fund before tackling high-interest credit card debt.
Yeah, that can seem counterintuitive at first glance.
It does, so it's a logic there.
It boils down to the math, really. The cost of carrying a high-interest credit card debt is often incredibly high, way higher than any interest you'd earn on savings.
Yeah.
They use an example, someone named Betty, who felt safer with cash in the bank, even with credit card debt. But the interest piling up on the cards was likely costing her far more than the security the cash provided.
So paying off, say, an 18% interest credit card gives you a guaranteed, tax-free 18% return on that money.
Precisely. It's very hard to beat that return safely anywhere else. So while having some emergency savings is good, aggressively attacking high-interest debt often makes more financial sense, mathematically speaking, than building a huge cash cushion first.
That's a powerful way to think about it.
Yeah.
But what about people just starting out? If saving 10–20% feels impossible, and now they hear they should prioritize debt, it could feel overwhelming.
And the book is really encouraging on this point. It stresses, start where you are. If you can only save a tiny bit, save that tiny bit. If you can only pay a little extra on debt, pay that little extra.
Don't get discouraged.
Exactly. Focus on consistent progress, not perfection. Build momentum. Don't give up if you have a setback. Just get back on track. Small steps consistently add up over time.
That's good advice. Okay, let's shift to that second core rule. Paying your credit card balance in full every month. The book talks about how easy credit access can actually be a trap.
It's so true. Credit is convenient, almost too convenient sometimes. It makes it very easy to spend money you don't quite have yet, and that's how debt spirals can start.
They mention Harold and Veronica's own experiences with debt when they were younger.
Yeah, dealing with credit card debt from just life happening, various expenses, maybe not having that emergency fund built up yet. It shows it can happen to anyone.
And the cost of carrying that debt.
Hmm.
The book really emphasizes how much it drains your resources.
We're sure. Those interest charges are just relentless. Like we said, paying it down is one of the best investments you can make because the interest you stop paying is so high and guaranteed.
And making only the minimum payment. That's a huge red flag, according to the book.
Oh, absolutely. The minimum payments are designed to keep you in debt for a very, very long time, paying a ton of interest. The book is adamant. Always pay more than the minimum if you possibly can. The more you pay, the faster the balance drops, and the less interest you pay overall.
Now, if someone is carrying debt on multiple cards, the book discusses two main payoff strategies.
Yeah.
Avalanche and snowball. Can you break those down?
Sure. The debt avalanche method means you focus all your extra payments on the card with the highest interest rate first, while just paying minimums on the others. Once that high interest card is gone, you tackle the next highest, and so on.
Mathematically optimal, right?
That
Saves the most interest.
Exactly. The debt snowball method, on the other hand, has you pay off the card with the smallest balance first, regardless of the interest rate, while paying minimums elsewhere.
Why do that?
Psychology. Paying off a whole card, even a small one, gives you a quick win, a feeling of accomplishment. That momentum can help some people stay motivated.
So, avalanche saves more money. Snowball might feel better initially.
That's the gist. The book acknowledges the snowball's motivational power, but points out the avalanche saves you more cash in the long run. Kind of depends on what keeps you going.
And staying motivated is tough. They suggest finding an accountability partner.
Yeah, sharing your goals and progress with someone, a friend, family member, maybe even an online group like they mentioned, Frugal Village. Having someone rooting for you or just someone to check in with can make a big difference.
Keeps you honest, maybe.
It can. Another practical tip they offer, call your credit card company and ask for a lower interest rate.
Does that actually work?
Yeah, sometimes. It doesn't hurt to try. The book points out that card companies would often rather lower your rate slightly than have you transfer the balance elsewhere or default entirely. Worth a phone call.
Okay. What about those balance transfer offers? Moving debt to a 0% card.
That can be a useful tool, definitely. But the book adds some cautions. First, don't rack up new debt on the new card. Second, know what the interest rate will jump to after the introductory period ends. It can be really high.
So use it strategically. Don't see it as free money.
Right. And speaking of things that seem appealing, credit card rewards. Points, miles, cash back.
Yeah, what's the verdict there?
Tread carefully. The lure of rewards can actually encourage people to spend more than they otherwise would, trying to rack up points. Often, the extra spending and potential interest outweigh the value of the rewards.
So the advice is basically focus on spending less overall, then just buy the thing you want with the money you saved.
Pretty much. Don't let the tail wag the dog.
Okay, what about people in really deep debt trouble? Debt consolidators, credit counselors.
The book advises caution here. Be wary of for-profit debt settlement companies. Fees can be high, results aren't guaranteed, and it can hurt your credit. Even with nonprofit credit counseling, like through the National Foundation for Credit Counseling, NFCC, which they do recommend as a better option, they note there can sometimes be subtle biases, so do your homework.
What about peer-to-peer lending for consolidation?
It's mentioned as a sort of DIY option, using sites like Lending Club or Prosper. But the catch is, the people who need help the most often have lower credit scores and might not qualify for good rates, if they qualify at all.
Got it. So for situations where debt feels truly overwhelming, the book actually talks about bankruptcy without shame.
Yes, and this is important. There's a huge stigma, but they argue it's a legitimate legal tool, often necessary due to things way outside someone's control: huge medical bills, job loss, divorce.
Not usually due to reckless spending, despite the perception.
Exactly. They explain the basics of Chapter 7 versus Chapter 13 bankruptcy, acknowledge the downsides, impact on credit, maybe employer views, but also the upside: stopping collectors, getting a fresh start.
Though some debts usually aren't wiped out, right?
Correct. Things like IRS debt, child support, alimony, and importantly, most student loans typically stick with you even after bankruptcy.
Okay, speaking of student loans, college is expensive, loans are often necessary. Any key advice there?
Prioritize federal loans first. Always. They offer much more flexible repayment options, income-driven plans, deferment, forbearance than private loans typically do.
Private loans are riskier then.
Generally, yes. Less flexibility, often higher rates depending on your credit. Also, be careful with consolidating student loans. It might simplify payments, but could extend the term and mean you pay more interest overall. And avoid private companies offering paid help with federal loans. You can usually access those options for free yourself.
Good to know. So let's say someone follows this advice, works hard, gets out of debt. What's the key takeaway for staying debt-free?
Number 1. Keep paying those credit card bills in full every month. If you find you can't manage that, the book suggests basically putting the card away, treating it as retired, until you feel confident you can handle it without carrying a balance.
Reinforce those good habits.
Absolutely. See getting out of debt not just as an endpoint, but as a massive investment in your future financial health. Protect that investment.
This has been a really insightful book talk on the index card, why personal finance doesn't have to be complicated. It's amazing how powerful these relatively simple ideas can be.
It really is. Focusing on saving consistently, managing debt smartly, making informed choices, it puts you back in control. It builds that foundation.
It feels less about complex strategies and more about consistent fundamental habits.
That's a great summary. It's about building sustainable financial health through understandable actions.
Well, if you listening found this discussion helpful, definitely consider subscribing to our channel. We'll have more book talks and discussions on personal finance right here.